Unscripted.
All those months ago when Mark Cerny sat up there and gave that breakdown of the PlayStation 5 and the features and things like that, a lot of people kind of mocked him and made fun of him and sort of ran with the narrative about how badly the Xbox Series X would beat the PlayStation 5 in performance and things like that. Realistically, I think most people didn't pay attention to what he was actually saying, because it's obvious in the content that they provide on YouTube, the things that they say on social media. A lot of people have gotten it completely wrong, and it's like, if you just go back and listen to what the man said, then you wouldn't look so foolish, because he said basically everything that we're learning now. We actually learned back then, but people, I guess, weren't paying close enough attention. I understand he has a little bit of an understated way of speaking, but with that being said, it's like a lot of that stuff was rounded up and put in little bits and pieces of news stories and articles all around. So I don't understand why there's this kind of issue where people are sort of just going, oh, well, how do we know about this, or how do we know about that? It's like, even up until a couple of weeks before launch of the PlayStation 5, there were people and websites saying that only 100 games would be backwards compatible, despite the fact that Mark Cerny during that speech said 99% would be backwards compatible, and that the top 100 would have enhancements and things like that. So it's like, I think people kind of selectively listen, and I'm noticing that more and more. Like, I've kind of stepped back off of Twitter and social media a little bit, and I just noticed that, for a lot of the time I get called quote-unquote toxic or whatever, but I see people out there seriously searching for issues wrong with Xbox Series X or PS5 and then retweeting it or posting about it just to kind of drive home the fact that there's something wrong. I mean, let's be real here. There's something wrong every single generation, but it's like, at some point you have to sit back, relax, and enjoy the games, right? I mean, that's what I've been doing. So people have noticed that I've kind of been a little bit absent with that aspect of things. Like, I'm just not as available because I'm actually out there having fun with these consoles, which is the entire point of these consoles, is to have fun, folks. And so with that being said, I try to be as helpful as I can, but people just really don't seem to listen when it comes to what's been said in the past and what kind of the future has in store for us. And I do think that this is something that a lot of people are going to be very interested to hear about. And again, it's all stuff that Mark Cerny has said. It's realistically really all stuff that he's kind of covered and said, and I really like that aspect of it. This is really interesting stuff, and I want to get into it. What's up, everybody? Crapgamer here with Crapgamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really do appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. I just want to say, I really do want to say, the best way, the easiest way to support a small channel like mine is a simple like, as it goes a long way. And not only does it go a long way, but it just means a lot to me personally. It's completely free for you guys to do. So thank you guys so much for always rocking out with me. And shout out to all the old subscribers, the new subscribers, and everybody in between. You are amazing people, each and every one of you. So thank you so much for all of that. And with that being said, the funny thing is Mark Cerny was even mentioning that, the normal way of talking about like compute units and stuff like that is a way of the past, right? It's a thing of the past. There's no reason to sort of, think that way anymore. It's the same thing with, like, I understand the whole teraflop arguments and stuff like that. Like everybody was sort of fascinated and stuck with the sort of old way of thinking when it comes to these video game consoles, and I understand that, because I, for one, was sort of in that situation. Like, everybody was really talking about resolution last gen, and I never understood why. Like, there's literally, you can't really tell a difference between 900p and 1080p on a 1080p TV, because they're both outputting at 1080p. It's like, you have to really kind of have a fine-tooth comb to be able to kind of tell any kind of difference. So I always thought that was kind of silly, and I also thought it was kind of silly for a lot of the Xbox fans right now to be talking up 4K native resolution. Like, everybody was saying that, all these games like Assassin's Creed and, Watch Dogs, these games would all be like native 4K, and it had to be upscaled on the PS5. And it turns out not to be the case. Simply put, it's like, there's so much going on with the bells and whistles right now. You add in ray tracing and all the kind of stuff that goes along with it. and it makes it impossible to do like 4K. People shouldn't be hoping for 4K. I think the people that are really like pushing for native 4K are people that don't really, and I'm not saying that I'm a huge genius when it comes to video games and technology, but I just know for a fact that when you push all those pixels for native 4K, sometimes I mean, it's not even necessary. Let's just be real here for a minute, okay? We're in a situation where DLSS and machine learning can make all kinds of lower resolutions look even better than 4K, and that's a fact. That's a fact that you can look up on places like Digital Foundry and all other places. This is why they're pushing this stuff. This is why PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X have these types of technologies to take advantage of them, so that we can get better frame rates, but still get the ray tracing and still get all the features that we want without having to push that full amount of pixels and put that strain on these boxes. And I feel like people really kind of forget that. And again, I was told that the big reason to buy an Xbox Series X was that it was going to outplay everything that the PlayStation 5 did. They would get the PlayStation 5 for quote-unquote exclusives, and then get the Xbox Series X for all the multiplats, because obviously the multiplats were all going to run better on the Xbox Series X. And then it ends up realistically not being the case, unfortunately. I think, I mean, you say unfortunately, but I don't know if it's like necessarily unfortunately. I think more along the lines of it'll be very interesting to see how this all plays out when the tools when the tools get made, when the tools come in. We'll see things change when the tools happen. When we start seeing some tools come in, and some tools, and then some more tools, and then we got to rework some tools and things like that. And then we got tools to work out, right? We've got to do tools and then some more tools. So keep in mind that there's tools coming. So anyway, the PlayStation 5 versions of Multiplats were supposed to be the worst versions. That didn't happen. Even Digital Foundry, which I did a video about this the other day, the Digital Foundry has done extremely great work by breaking down and comparing the two versions of different games. So take, for instance, Dirt 5, which was heavily marketed by Microsoft. The wizards at Digital Foundry have put Dirt 5 on PS5 and Xbox Series X through the paces, and the results favor the PlayStation 5. According to their report, the PS5 version of the off-road racer features a higher average resolution and enhanced texture filtering for the game's image quality mode. In addition, there's also a noticeable increase in detail at 120 frames per second. However, there is no VRR support for the PlayStation 5 just yet, and that means that the Xbox Series X version sees a cleaner refresh rate, but there is going to be VRR support being patched in via a firmware update coming to the PlayStation 5, so you do have that to kind of think about as well. And Codemasters also confirmed that they're going to improve haptic feedback for the PlayStation 5 version of the game, although there hasn't been a date set for that yet either. But yeah, I just thought that was really interesting, and for me, I thought it was funny that sort of that was the way that the things kind of come about. Was this isn't the only game, as far as I could tell, for me personally, I think that the fact that all the games that were highly marketed on the Xbox Series X, the Assassin's Creed Ragnaroks, and even Watch Dogs Legions, Call of Duty, while that wasn't marketed on Xbox, people kept telling me that the best version would be on Xbox. Dirt 5, you have Devil May Cry, you have so many games that were realistically supposed to be so much better on that box. And I'm not really kind of knocking it and saying, oh well, it's the end of this or the end of that. I'm just saying that for me personally, it's kind of funny to see how things have kind of how things have kind of changed, and at the end of the day, people don't really have any kind of reasoning or explanation other than kind of making excuses about tools and things like that. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's not that I like being right, it's just that I happen to be right quite a bit, and I don't really get credit for it. And what I mean by that is, I was extremely right about the Xbox and the way that those studios that they bought wouldn't be able to actually come out with games for years to come. And I said 2023, 2024, for a lot of those games. I mean, sure, possibly Halo next year, but other than that, you're not going to see anything like Fable and Avowed. That stuff is like 2023 all day or further behind. So, it is funny to see that kind of come about, and then I get called a fearmonger and stuff like that. I also got called a fearmonger when I mentioned that, you know, we should wait and see with how these consoles play out, and I also mentioned that without seeing, without being able to see how games look on the Xbox Series X, or you have to remember that Microsoft was very hesitant to show off anything on the Xbox Series X. Even now, it's like you look at Xbox Series X stuff, and it's not exactly great. But I would love to be able to see, something like that showed off. But they just don't, I guess, and there could be a reason that there isn't. And it looks like that reason is, that their stuff isn't up to par, and it could be, people go, well, it's the tools, but like the Codemasters devs even commented that wasn't necessarily it. So what's the deal? I mean, is it that Sony developed a better console? Is it that Microsoft doesn't really know what they're doing? I mean, I would love to hear some kind of information on this, but I digress. I'm gonna link this stuff in the description. You can check it out. Why are all games better on the PlayStation 5 at this point? I just don't know how it is. We're talking console versus console here, folks. So leave that other stuff at the door. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Take care of each other. Game on. Rack 'em up. Crapgamer out.
Unscripted.